Thank you very much, Madam President. Colleagues, I rise today in support of SJR 9 as co-chair of the California Legislative Jewish Caucus and as the grandson and great-grandson of Jewish immigrants who fled to this country from Eastern Europe and Russia to escape the pogroms and to find safety and stability and to make lives for themselves and for their families. The same exact reason that Jews came to this country in the early 20th century, and the same reason that so many immigrants from Latin America and from around the world have come to this country today and for decades leading up to today. Fortunately, my grandparents and great-grandparents were able to live their lives. They were able to stand in their front yards. They were able to go to the bus stop, to the pharmacy, to the grocery store, to work. They were able to bring their kids to school without fear that ski mask wearing unidentified secret police would grab them, place them in unmarked cars, and disappear them to gulags in El Salvador or Libya or South Sudan, or to an island in Florida surrounded by alligators, so-called alligator Alcatraz. They didn't have to deal with that. This country allowed my grandparents and great-grandparents to build lives for themselves here. My grandparents and great-grandparents didn't have to fear that bounty hunters hired by ICE would kidnap them and potentially send them back to Eastern Europe and Russia if they didn't get sent to the Gulag. And had they been sent back, I wouldn't be here today because my family would have been incinerated during the Holocaust. This resolution is vital because our immigrant neighbors are vital to California. They're essential, not simply as drivers and creators of our culture and engines of our economy, but because they are our loved ones. They are our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, our kids' teachers. And our immigrant neighbors are in deep crisis, living in fear. And I think a lot of people who haven't experienced that fear do not fully understand what that fear means, to live in fear every day that you're gonna get grabbed or someone in your family is gonna get grabbed. Families being torn apart. It is a disaster. On Sunday, we had the San Francisco Pride Parade, and later in the day, I took the subway to get from the celebration back to my home in the Castro. And on the train, I was sitting next to a man, a gay Latino man who I've known for a long time, just in the neighborhood. And he turned and he said to me, you know, I came here from Mexico when I was 16, and I have lived here for 30 years. And I'm just wondering when I'm gonna have to go back to Mexico. And he said that in a completely matter-of-fact way, and my heart just sank. That is the message that has been conveyed to tens of millions of people in this country, citizens, non-citizens, everyone. That's what this government has conveyed to people who are absolutely ingrained in this society and have been for a very long time. These attacks on immigrant communities by the Trump administration, these efforts to strip our neighbors of their humanity and their basic dignity are reflective of the worst moments in history. Jews know what it means to be targeted. Jews know what happens inevitably when that targeting begins. Once our own government begins to dehumanize us, round us up like cattle, separate us from our loved ones, force us out of our homes and into government detention. Jews understand what it means to be denied the rights of other citizens, to be excluded from country after country, to be expelled. And Jews can smell fascism a mile away. We've lived it for millennia. We know what it means when the secret police come. We know what it means when a single group is singled out for dehumanization. We know what it means when a tyrannical government issues edicts stating that you are no longer part of society. That is what is happening in our country today, and we feel a deep obligation to speak out. When we hear phrases like, quote, poisoning the blood of our nation, our Jewish alarm bells go off because we know what that means and what that is a precursor to. We must condemn what is happening in the strongest possible terms. Because if we don't, if we allow this terror campaign to continue, it will grow into something even darker than the evil we're experiencing now. We are already seeing them call for denaturalizing citizens. Anyone who thinks that this is just going to stop where it is now, particularly with the $45 billion that Congress is handing to this president to create a police state like nothing we can even envision sitting here right now. It's not going to stop. It took a year and a half from when Hitler became chancellor through a democratic process, a year and a half for him to fully dismantle that democracy and turn it into a dictatorship. And along the way, as that process happened, and then in the years after that, moving towards the final solution, a lot of choices were made by millions and millions of people in society. Choices to resist and fight, or choices to just let it happen and turn the other way. It is the height of arrogance for anyone in this country to think that history cannot repeat itself, to think that we are somehow impervious to what has happened in human society for millennia when groups begin to be targeted by the government. Jewish values teach us to welcome the stranger, which is why so many Jewish nonprofits dedicate themselves to helping people who come here as refugees, people from countries across the world. It is a core part of what we call tikkun olam, healing the world. We must send a crystal clear message that we will never accept this as normal, and we must remind this president and his corrupt administration, as well as every resident of this great nation, that California will fight back, that we love our neighbors, and that we are ready to defend them. I ask for an aye vote.